up, y'all? So today I want to talk about change and also the issue that comes with this sometimes, which is not even knowing where to start. I've been thinking a lot about this week, and so I thought it was appropriate to go and make a video because it's a constant loop that I'll find myself in. I know I'm not alone. What happened to me to make me start thinking about this more this week was this YouTube channel and my content I've made so far. What I've noticed over weeks and a little bit of the months is that when I first started making some of these videos, I would think about it the week or week and a half before. I'd write out ideas. I'd be enthusiastic about coming to make some of the ideas. And slowly but surely, not overnight, it went from maybe a week and a half out to a week out. Then we wait to 6 days, then 5 days. And then sometimes what I've noticed is when I look back, I realize that I've procrastinated so much of me getting to what these videos are. The thing is, I love making videos. I love making content. This is like what I want to do with my life at some point later on, whenever that time allows. So I have to often ask myself the question of, well, why is it difficult for me to get these videos out? Why is it difficult? Why am I procrastinating doing something that I seemingly love? It's because I know, and I've known for some time, that I've had to make some type of change, but I haven't really known where to start or how to go about that. And so I'm bringing this up because this is a real-time example of something that affects me, but it doesn't have to be with content. It can be with anything in your life, right? It can be with a relationship. It can be a job. It can be anything really that you have going on in your life in which you are either conscious of needing to make a change or you're somewhere on the cusp of doing that. But then the next most difficult question is, well, how do I make this change and where do I even start? When it comes to my YouTube channel, I think sometimes what happens to me is that I can be a bit of a perfectionist. I try my very best to set up shots looking right. Sometimes I'll make multiple takes. I take a bunch of pictures for thumbnails. I really try to be as creative as I possibly can. But sometimes that goes from being creative to perfectionism, which perfectionism actually can stall your progress too. It's good to want to jump outside and do a good job with anything you do in your life, but when it gets to a point of you just being a little bit too over analytical of your stuff or too critical of your own work or your own thoughts or feelings or opinions or goals or anything in life, this is what can stall you. I mentioned the word procrastination earlier, and this is something that I think is really important, especially as it comes to change. Anytime I would catch myself procrastinating or I think about that word procrastination, I always had it in a very negative context. I would look at myself and think, come on, Mike, like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, why don't you just get this done? Why are you waiting till the last minute? It didn't matter. It used to start off with me doing this with like my homework and other stuff. But quickly you start to realize that this can happen in a lot of ways in your life. And so anytime I found myself procrastinating, I automatically thought I was lazy. I just wasn't up to the caliber like my peers. Something was wrong with me, right? There was some negative connotation. But as I've gotten older, one thing I've started to kind of think about differently is that I don't think procrastination is a negative aspect real in anybody. I think it more or less the first sign that you're misaligned with something. Because I always think about this, like, if you're really excited to do something in life, if you want to do something, you are not going to procrastinate doing that because the level of excitement you had pushes you towards doing whatever the thing is. If you're procrastinating, there's probably a reason. It's because even if you think you may like the thing, maybe it's not really the thing for you at all. I'm not saying that you're not in the ballpark, but sometimes maybe the ways that we go about what we're doing in our life are what makes it more difficult for us. I keep coming back to the example of the YouTube channel, right? I love making videos. It's something that I'm interested in. It's something that I want to learn more about, get better technical proficiencies with it and all these things. But I think that the change that needs to happen with my channel and what I've been doing is the content in which I do and the way I go about it, not changing the whole idea from YouTube to something else. Sometimes we're close, but we're just looking at it from the wrong perspective. We're taking the wrong avenue to get to whatever the thing may be. And that's exactly what happened to me. What I found, in going back to the example I was talking about earlier, I started procrastinating. I started waiting later and later to start making the videos. And then the quality wasn't as good as what I wanted. Not because I wasn't putting the effort, but because I kept procrastinating for some other reason. And I went back to these habits of saying, well, I'm procrastinating, I'm lazy, I need to get my stuff together, I need to get a schedule, I need to write out ideas earlier and do all this stuff. I said all of these things instead of taking a step back and saying, you know what, like, am I enjoying what I'm making? And if I'm not, what can I do about that? See, I think this is why change can be hard so many times. It's because we don't know where to start. Or if we do know where to start, it's hard to be honest with ourselves about that reality in which to go about that. Because all change is difficult, no matter what it is. I don't care how small or big something is, change is difficult. It's hard enough to get to the point in your life when you say, you know what, something needs to be different. Having that light bulb go off in your head is a difficult task for a lot of people, including me. It always has been. And then just when you get the courage and the strength to be able to get to that point in your life, you then realize that this is where day one starts and this is where the real work picks up. Because coming up with the idea of needing to change is one piece, but the second piece that's equally as crucial is putting the steps in action that you need to do to actually get to whatever that may be for you in your life. I don't think I've ever been the best at change in my life, right? Which can be surprising to some people because I've moved so much when I was younger and lived in so many places or exposed to so many different cultures, ways of thinking and everything too. But every single time I had to change anything, it was always difficult. This is what I mean. I don't think that change ever really gets easy for any of us. And that also encompasses where to start. I think sometimes now one of the tricks that helps me as to where to start is thinking about procrastination as a tool rather than a crutch or something else that actually inhibits you. I use this tool for anything, right? Like if I'm not in a relationship now, but if I was in a relationship and I was procrastinating, wanting to plan dates, wanting to move forward in the future, ask this person to be my wife or something, it's been enough time or anything like this. If I was hesitant and procrastinating and finding ways to not take the next steps rather than to take the next steps, I think that's an indication that you got to ask yourself, like, what's going on? I'm not saying that automatically means leave your relationship's bad, but I think that that is how you start off with a change, and that's the first part that you do. It's figuring out why you're procrastinating, doing whatever the actions are to get you to that point. That's what's helped me. Shifting from the mindset of something's wrong with me to, hey, my brain or my body are trying to tell me something that are just, they're not in sync. Instead of fighting yourself and putting yourself down and saying I'm something wrong with me, say like, well, why am I hesitant to move forward and do such and such? If you're at your job and you hate your job and you don't want to go look for another job, that's a form of procrastination too. It's like you feel terrible, it weighs down on you. You get to the point of saying, I don't forget this place, I'm about to walk out of here. But then when you go home, you just turn on Netflix and you just completely tap out of reality and you don't think about it. There's parts of us that procrastinate in so many ways with anything we do. But I think the real difficult part comes down to understanding that that is an indication, not something wrong with you. And I think all of us go through these struggles, but I think the more that these situations happen to you in your life, the easier it is to kind of recognize it. It doesn't make it easier to start or to initiate or to follow through the change, but it makes it easier to recognize that, hey, this is another indication something's off. I need to do a little bit of maintenance or figure out where I'm going next with this. For me, like one of the things that I think about with this YouTube channel is I'm not like a lot of creators that are out there. There's a lot of formulas. There's a lot of prescribed ways that you're supposed to make your videos and do all this stuff, but that's just not me and it never will be me. And so when I think about my content and what I want to do, I'm never going to be the type of YouTuber that's like, here's, top 5 list why you should do this, or here's the best things and stuff too. I've tried that in the past. Wasn't for me. I'm not really a teacher. I don't like to sit here and be like, here's the lesson plan or here's the way that you should do this in your life that's going to work best for you. Because I don't believe there's one best way to do anything in life. So I'm not trying to teach you the magical way that no one else has said before for you to find a way to do something. I think there's enough self-improvement people out there and things that tell you directly how to do stuff like that in your life that you can kind of pick and choose what works best for you and go from there. One thing that I've realized after making a lot of these videos is that I've always been into movies growing up, and I love movies. I love visuals. I love cinematography and everything. My technical proficiency with doing this stuff is like a 2 out of 10 right now, but I'm working on getting up to a 3, so I'm getting a little better. And hopefully one day I'm able to make some great little short films and kind of cinematic pieces that go hand in hand with these YouTube videos that visually represent some of the things I'm trying to get across, so that I don't always have to use my words to say what I'm trying to say instead. I can make it a little more interesting like that. So these are the things that I like. These are the things that I don't resist, that I don't procrastinate, that I lean into. The things that I do resist and I procrastinate on are feeling like I'm getting preachy up here, where here's the topic, here's how you do it. I have to present something that's of some profound value to the camera, because I don't always have something like that. You know why? Because sometimes I have really difficult weeks like I had today, or not today, difficult weeks like I've had this week and like I had last week and stuff. I'm like any other person, they fluctuate. What I want to do is lean more into that stuff and turn this more into like a cinematic kind of reflection channel in which I'm not telling you how to live your life or what to do or giving you some list or selling you an ebook or doing something like that, but I'm more or less just making it visually interesting and also reflecting back maybe on a concept, a way of life, an idea, or something else that people hold true to themselves, just having a discussion with them. I want to make this feel like something in which we're across the table from each other having a cup of coffee, so that you can turn to this as something where you feel like you have someone there with you. Maybe someone that gets it so that you can leave feeling encouraged. Maybe just to have something to put on the background that makes you feel calm and makes your day just a little bit better. My goal is simply to just give you some type of thing to reflect on and understand things like the concept I talked about before, right? And what this video essentially was put out to be. The change is hard. You may not know where to start. I don't know where to start always, but use procrastination as a tool to understand what is misaligned. And then when you have the courage and when you feel like you're ready to go ahead and start taking those next steps, after admitting that it's time for the change, be gracious to yourself, take it one day at a time, and don't try to go for perfectionism like I have tried to do. Just do what you can. Do one little thing better each time that you try. It doesn't have to be big. It has to just be intentional. And the consistency always beats out. What's the saying? Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Well, that's been around for a long time for a reason. And I'm slowly having to remind myself of that too each and every day. I hope this helped. I'm going to definitely be a little bit more loose with my videos and stuff as I keep talking, moving forward, and keeping it more as things like this. Whether I'm going to keep more of like this talking head kind of presence or not, it'll always probably be some aspect to my videos. But I think that as I get better with the visuals, I'm going to start mixing those back in so I can make it more visual storytelling and not just storytelling via these means instead. But in any case, thank you for sticking around to this point in the video. And if this helped you at all, please go ahead and drop me a like below. Consider subscribing for similar content in the future. I'll see you all here in the next one. Take it for now. Peace.